The Essex. In November 1820, a sperm whale attacked and sank an American whaling ship called the Essex in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean. The crew was 1,500 miles from the nearest land. What made this attack different from anything recorded before wasn't the collision. It was the repetition. The whale struck the ship once, the crew felt the impact through the entire hull. Before they could respond, it surfaced, turned, and struck again, harder. The second strike opened the hull completely. First mate Owen Chase, who survived, wrote in his account that the whale appeared to pause between strikes. It surfaced at a distance, oriented itself directly toward the ship, and accelerated into the second collision with what he described as deliberate force. Not panic, not confusion, direction. The whale was estimated at 26 meters in length, longer than the ship itself. It had been harpooned earlier that day by the same crew and had escaped. When it returned, it approached from beneath the surface, unseen until it was already moving at full speed. 8 crew members survived after 90 days at sea. They were found in 3 small boats scattered across 1,500 miles of open ocean. The whale was never seen again, but sperm whales live for up to 70 years, and they remember. The Anne Alexander. In August 1851, a sperm whale rammed and sank an American whaling vessel called the Anne Alexander in the Pacific Ocean. The crew escaped onto small boats and watched their ship go under within minutes of the impact. What made investigators uncomfortable wasn't the sinking, it was the timing. The Essex had been attacked by a sperm whale in the same ocean 31 years earlier. The Anne Alexander attack followed an identical pattern. A harpooned whale escaping, the same whale returning. A deliberate strike from beneath the surface, the same result. When the wreckage of the Anne Alexander was later found, researchers discovered 2 harpoon heads embedded in the hull of a sperm whale recovered in the region the following year. One of the harpoons was identified as belonging to the Anne Alexander. The other was identified as belonging to the Essex. The same whale. 2 ships. 31 years apart. A sperm whale's brain is the largest of any creature ever known to have existed on Earth. Researchers have documented that sperm whales communicate through complex click sequences, pass behavioral information between generations, and maintain memory across decades. Whatever it remembered about those 2 ships, it kept the record longer than most of the crew members lived. The Lucette. In June 1972, a family of 6 was sailing across the Pacific aboard a wooden schooner called the Lucette when a pod of orcas surfaced directly beside the hull and began ramming it repeatedly. The attack lasted less than 2 minutes. The ship sank in 60 seconds after the hull was breached. The family survived on an inflatable life raft for 38 days before rescue. Dougal Robertson, who captained the Lucette, documented the attack in detail. The orcas did not approach randomly. They surfaced in a coordinated spread positioned around the vessel before the first impact. Each strike targeted the same section of the hull. After the ship went under, the pod remained in the area for several minutes before leaving. No food was taken, no crew member was approached in the water. The orcas left immediately after the ship was gone. Between 2020 and 2023, over 700 documented interactions between orcas and sailing vessels were recorded off the coasts of Spain and Portugal. 3 ships sank. In every case, the attack pattern matched. Multiple individuals, coordinated approach, repeated strikes to the rudder and hull. No aggression toward crew members in the water afterward. Marine biologists have no agreed explanation for why it started or why it continues. The behavior is spreading to new pods that had no previous contact with boats. It is still happening right now. The giant squid and the warships. During the Second World War, multiple Allied naval personnel stationed in the South Atlantic reported encounters with giant squid that were never included in official records. A British naval officer named Frederick Aldrich spent years collecting these accounts after the war and published his findings in 1968. Sailors described arms surfacing beside vessels at night, wrapping around railings, around ropes, around anything fixed to the hull. In several accounts, the arms were thick enough that 2 men could not encircle them with their hands. One documented case described a squid attempting to pull a crew member overboard before other sailors cut the arm with a blade. In 1941, a British troop ship called the Britannia reported a squid surfacing alongside the vessel and wrapping 2 arms around the rear section before sliding back under. The marks left on the hull were measured afterward. The suction impressions were 15 centimeters in diameter. The largest confirmed giant squid ever measured reached 13 meters. The arm impressions on the Britannia suggested a body size significantly beyond that. Giant squids have never been reliably filmed alive at full size in open water. Everything known about their maximum dimensions comes from remains found inside sperm whale stomachs, and sperm whales have been found with sucker scars on their skin far larger than any squid science has confirmed exists. The Orca Pod of Eden. Between 1840 and 1930, a pod of orcas operated in the waters off Eden on the southeastern coast of Australia, and developed a working arrangement with local whalers that marine biologists still struggle to fully explain. The orcas would locate baleen whale pods offshore, drive them toward the bay, then circle the exhausted whales and alert the human whalers by slapping the water with their tails. The whalers would harpoon the whale. The orcas would hold the carcass underwater until it sank, eat the lips and tongue, and allow the whalers to retrieve the rest the following day. This arrangement continued across multiple generations of both the orcas and the human families involved. The orcas learned the schedule. They appeared when whaling season began. They disappeared when it ended. A leading male named Old Tom worked alongside the same whaling family for over 30 years. When Old Tom died in 1930, the arrangement ended. No orca from the pod ever returned to work with humans again. His skeleton is preserved in a museum in Eden. The rope marks from the whaling cables are still visible on his teeth. An animal that negotiates, maintains agreements across generations, and ends a relationship when its terms are broken is not behaving on instinct. It is behaving on memory, decision, and something that functions very closely to choice: the São Paulo encounter. In 2003, a Brazilian cargo vessel called the São Paulo reported an encounter in the South Atlantic that its captain filed as an official incident report with maritime authorities. The ship was traveling at standard cruising speed when something struck the hull from below with enough force to stop the vessel's forward momentum completely. The impact was felt across the entire ship. Equipment fell from surfaces. Several crew members were knocked from their feet. When the ship's instruments were checked, they showed the vessel had been brought to a near-complete halt by a single impact from directly beneath the keel. No rock formation existed at that depth. No geological survey of the region showed any feature that could explain the impact. Water depth at the location was over 2,000 meters. The hull was inspected at the next port. Along the keel, inspectors found a series of impressions consistent with pressure applied from a curved surface, not a flat one. The impressions ran in a line approximately 18 meters long. The report was filed, documented, and then largely ignored by maritime authorities. No follow-up investigation was conducted. The São Paulo continued operating until 2023 when it was decommissioned and sank unexpectedly while being towed for scrapping in the South Atlantic. It sank in the same region where the 2003 incident occurred. The cause of sinking was listed as unknown structural failure.